The Battle of Seoul lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the wreckage of 200 alien ships floated in Earth's orbit like a metal graveyard. Of the mighty Zephyrian fleet that had come to destroy humanity, only 12 vessels remained intact. They hung in space with their weapons powered down, broadcasting surrender signals on all frequencies. Admiral Pete Collins stood on the bridge of the Predator, watching rescue shuttles move between the wrecked alien ships. His own losses had been minimal. 8 human vessels destroyed, 23 damaged. The numbers told a story that would echo across the galaxy for generations. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "High Commander Zalthek is requesting to speak with you." "Put him through." The alien commander appeared on screen, his elegant uniform torn and stained with blood. Behind him, Collins could see the ruins of what had once been a magnificent starship. "Admiral Collins," Zalthek said quietly, "I wish to discuss terms of surrender." Collins nodded. "Standard terms. Your surviving crews will be treated according to galactic law. Your ships will be impounded pending negotiations between our governments. That is acceptable. But Admiral, I must ask, how did you do this?" "My fleet was the most powerful force the Collective had ever assembled. Your species has been in space for less than 200 years. Collins smiled, but it was not a cruel smile. It was the patient expression of a teacher about to explain something very important. "Commander, your people made a mistake. You assumed that because we were young, we were weak. You thought that because our technology looked primitive, we didn't know how to use it. But your weapons, your tactics, your entire approach to warfare, it is unlike anything we have encountered. That's because you've never encountered a predator species before." Collins activated his tactical display, showing the battle from beginning to end. The alien commander watched in fascination as human ships moved through space like hunting animals, using every advantage of terrain, timing, and psychology. "Every species in your collective evolved from prey animals or peaceful omnivores," Collins explained. "You developed technology to overcome your limitations, but you never lost your prey instincts. When threatened, you still think like creatures that run from danger." Zalthek stared at the display. "And humans?" "Humans evolved from pack hunters. When we see a threat, our first instinct is to figure out how to kill it. We've been perfecting warfare for millions of years. Space combat is just the latest battlefield." The truth was sinking in for the alien commander. "Your entire species. You are all warriors?" Collins laughed. "Commander, our children play games that would qualify as advanced military training by your standards. Our entertainment regularly features scenarios of species extinction and survival against impossible odds. We create art about war, right? Songs about battle, and tell stories about heroes who die fighting overwhelming odds. But surely not all humans are soldiers?" "No, but every human understands violence. Our farmers know how to fight because they had to protect their crops. Our merchants know tactics because they had to defend their goods. Our teachers study strategy because they need to understand human nature." Collins pulled up another display, showing Earth's history. Wars, conquests, revolutions, and struggles for survival stretched back thousands of years. "Commander, we've been fighting each other for our entire recorded history. Every weapon we used against you, every tactic, every strategy was developed fighting other humans. You brought the galaxy's most advanced military to fight a species that considers warfare a natural part of existence." Zalthek was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. "What happens now? To my people? To the collective? That depends," Collins replied. "Are you going to keep trying to conquer other species?" "Admiral, after what I have seen here, I believe the age of collective expansion is over." Collins nodded. "Good. because Dr. Rivers has something to show you. Dr. Alex Rivers appeared on a second screen, speaking from his laboratory aboard the Darwin. Commander Zalthek, I've been studying galactic history since your ships arrived. The collective has destroyed 47 different species over the past 3,000 years. The alien commander looked ashamed. It was ... necessary. They refused to join willingly. No, Rivers replied firmly. It was genocide. And it's going. To stop, Collins leaned forward. Commander, Earth is establishing the Terran Accords. Any species that signs the treaty is protection from aggressive neighbors. In exchange, they agree to stop conquering other worlds. And if a species refuses to sign? Collins' smile turned cold. Then they get to learn what humans do to bullies. 6 months later, the galaxy had changed completely. Word of humanity's victory had spread to every corner of known space. Species that had lived in fear of the collective for millennia suddenly found themselves with powerful protectors. Captain Jake Morrison. Now Admiral Morrison commanded the Terran Defense Corps from his flagship, the new UES Defiance II. His job was to patrol the borders of human space and respond to calls for help from smaller species. It was good work. The kind of work that made him proud to be human. Admiral, his communications officer reported, were receiving a distress signal from the Kepler system. A species called the Vorthan Republic is under attack by something called the hegemony. Morrison smiled. Another bully that needed to learn manners. Plot a course for Kepler. Maximum speed. Signal Earth Command that we're responding to a humanitarian crisis. Sir, should we wait for reinforcements? Lieutenant, we are the reinforcements. The Defiance II and her escort ships jumped to hyperspace, carrying human justice to another corner of the galaxy. On Earth, President Helen Carter met with ambassadors from dozens of species who wanted to join the Terran Accords. The meeting room was filled with creatures of every shape and size, all united by a common understanding. Humans were the protectors now. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings, Carter began, the Terran Accords are simple. We will defend your worlds from aggression. In exchange, you agree to resolve disputes through negotiation rather than warfare. A crystalline being from the Andorian Consortium raised the appendage that might have been a hand. President Carter, what assurance do we have that humanity will not become the next collective? Carter smiled. Ambassador, humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to make sure nobody else does either. It was true. Human psychology was built around pack loyalty and territorial defense, not conquest for its own sake. They would fight to protect what was theirs, but they had no interest in ruling species they didn't understand. The galaxy had learned its lesson. There were now two types of civilizations among the stars. Those who lived by the Terran Accords, and those who served as object lessons for the others. Dr. Rivers, now serving as Earth's first galactic cultural ambassador, was giving a lecture at the Zephyrian Academy. His audience consisted of alien military officers who were trying to understand what had happened at Sol. The key point, he explained, is that humans don't just wage war. We perfect it. Every conflict in our history was preparation for the moment when something threatened our species' survival. A Zephyrian student raised her hand. Dr. Rivers, are humans truly as dangerous as the reports suggest? Rivers considered the question carefully. Let me put it this way. Humans are the only species in the galaxy that considers extinction a temporary setback rather than a final defeat. We plan for scenarios where our entire civilization might be destroyed, then figure out how to rebuild and take revenge. That seems ... excessive. Maybe, but it's why humanity survived when so many other species didn't. Across the galaxy, the new order was taking hold. Species that had spent centuries living in fear were finally free to develop their own cultures and technologies. Trade flourished between worlds that had never been allowed to communicate before. And watching over it, all were human ships, crewed by the descendants of pack hunters, who had learned that the greatest hunt was protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Commander Vexthara, now serving as a cultural liaison aboard the human vessel Humanity First, sent a final message to what remained of the Zephyrian government. "We came seeking prey and found apex predators," he wrote. "The humans don't conquer worlds because they don't need to. They simply exist, and existence itself becomes negotiable for those who threaten them. The galaxy has learned why some species inherit the stars, while others learn wisdom through survival. Humanity has proven they qualify on both counts. The age of predators had begun, and for the first time in galactic history, the predators were on the side of justice." High Commander Zalthek was not accustomed to personal failure. In 300 years of military service, he had never lost a battle. His arrival in the human system aboard the massive dreadnought Infinite Conquest should have ended this embarrassment. Quickly. Now, 3 weeks later, he stood on his command bridge, staring at tactical displays that made no sense. The human fleet was retreating toward their home world, but they were making his forces pay for every mile of space. "Status report," he commanded. Fleet Admiral Morphic, his second in command, consulted his displays with obvious discomfort. "Sir, we have lost 37 vessels since beginning the advance. The humans have lost only 16 ships, but their resistance appears to be weakening." "Appears?" "Sir, their communications suggest growing desperation. They keep requesting reinforcements that aren't coming. Their tactical discussions indicate they're running low on supplies and ammunition." Zalthek nodded. This made sense. The humans had fought well for primitives, but numbers always won in the end. His fleet now contained over 200 vessels, the largest military force the collective had ever assembled. "How long until we reach their home world?" 6 hours at current speed, sir." "Excellent. Signal the fleet. When we arrive, I want every human military installation destroyed. Then we glass the major population centers. Make it quick and clean." But 6 billion miles away, Dr. Alex Rivers was making a discovery that would change everything. Captain Amy Foster watched Dr. Rivers work in the Darwin's main laboratory. Around them, pieces of destroyed Zephyrian ships floated in containment fields. Rivers had been studying the wreckage for days, trying to understand how alien technology worked. "Doctor," Foster said, "we need to move soon. The retreat is ahead of schedule." Rivers looked up from his microscope, his eyes wide with excitement and horror. "Captain, I need to speak with Admiral Collins immediately. What I've found... It changes everything we know about galactic civilization." Foster activated the secure communication channel. Collins appeared on screen, looking tired and stressed. "Dr. Rivers, I hope you have good news. We're running out of space to retreat into. Admiral, I've been analyzing alien biological samples from their ship wreckage. The Zephyrians and every other spacefaring species they fought evolved from herbivorous or omnivorous origins. Meaning they developed technology to overcome their physical limitations, but they never developed the predator's mindset. They don't think like hunters." Collins frowned. "I'm not following you, Doctor." Rivers pulled up a holographic display showing brain scans from various species. "Admiral, look at these neural patterns. Every galactic civilization we've encountered thinks in terms of territory, resources, and survival. But humans think in terms of hunting, killing, and eating our enemies. We don't eat our enemies, Doctor." "No, but we still think like predators. When we see a threat, our first instinct isn't to run or negotiate. It's to figure out how to kill it." Foster leaned forward. "Doctor, what are you saying?" "I'm saying humans are the first true predator species to reach the stars. Every other race became civilized before they became dangerous. We became dangerous. First, then learned to be civilized. Collins was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Rivers, are you telling me that we're naturally better at warfare than aliens with thousands of years more experience? Admiral, I'm telling you that we're not just better at warfare. We're the only species in the galaxy that actually understands what warfare is. The implications hit Collins like a physical blow. Every human military strategy, every tactical doctrine, every weapon system had been developed by a species that evolved from pack hunters. Humans didn't just wage war, they perfected it through millions of years of evolution. Doctor, I need this information sent to every ship in the fleet immediately. Already done, sir. Collins closed the channel and looked around his bridge. His officers were listening to their private communicators, receiving Rivers' data. One by one, their expressions changed from worry to amazement to something approaching predatory joy. Admiral, his tactical officer said quietly, if this is true, then we've been holding back. What do you mean? Sir, we've been fighting a defensive retreat, trying to minimize casualties and protect our ships. But if these aliens have never faced real predators before, Collins understood. They had been playing by civilized rules against an enemy that had no idea what uncivilized rules looked like. Signal the fleet, Collins ordered. All ships are to prepare for Protocol 7 implementation. This time, Protocol 7 wasn't about. Coffee.High Commander Zalfek watched the blue-green world grow larger on his main screen. Earth looked peaceful from space, with white clouds swirling over brown and green continents. It was almost beautiful enough to preserve Dot almost. Sir, his sensor officer called out, the human fleet has taken defensive positions around their home world. 41 ships in high orbit. Only 41? Where are the rest of their vessels? Unknown, sir. Perhaps they were destroyed during our advance. Zalfek smiled. The humans had fought well for primitives, but they were still primitives. 41 ships against 200 was barely worth calling a battle. Signal the fleet. All vessels will target the human ships first, then begin planetary bombardment. I want this over quickly. But as his fleet moved into attack formation, something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to come alive with hidden ships. From behind the moon came 30 human vessels. From the asteroid belt emerged another. 60 ships. Hidden in the dark spaces between planets, camouflaged against the cosmic background radiation, the true human defense fleet revealed itself. 843 ships materialized around the Zephyrian fleet like the jaws of a massive trap. Impossible, Zalfek whispered. Where did they come from? His tactical officer was frantically updating the displays. Sir, massive energy signatures from the largest human vessel. It's bigger than our dreadnought. On the screen, the UESS Predator slowly turned toward the alien fleet. The ship was enormous, 1.5 miles long, and covered in weapons that no civilized species would put on a starship. Captain Tony Hayes stood on the Predator's gun deck, surrounded by weapons. Systems that had been designed for one purpose, the complete destruction of enemy fleets. Behind him, his crew worked with the calm efficiency of born killers. Target the alien flagship, Hayes ordered. All batteries, full spread. The Predator's main guns were rail cannons that fired tungsten slugs the size of school buses. When they fired, the ship's entire hull shuddered from the recoil. The slugs crossed space at 30% of light speed, arriving at their target before the aliens even knew they had been fired upon. High Commander Zalfek was thrown across his bridge as his flagship came apart around him. Armor plating that could withstand planet-killer energy beams crumpled like paper under kinetic impact. Damage report. He screamed over the sound of alarms. Sir, hull breaches on 40 decks. Main engines destroyed. Weapons systems offline. We're venting atmosphere. Through the chaos, Zolthek heard a human voice on the emergency channel. It was calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying. This is Admiral Pete Collins of the Terran Defense Force. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now or be destroyed. Never. Zolthek responded. The collective does not surrender to primitives. Very well. All human vessels, you are authorized to engage. Show them why Earth breeds warriors. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Human ships moved through space like hunting. Wolves, working in coordinated packs to isolate and destroy alien vessels. They used tactics that no civilized species would consider. Ramming attacks, boarding parties, weapons that were designed to cause maximum psychological impact as well as physical damage. The Zephyrians discovered that human ships carried soldiers who would fight hand-to-hand in the corridors of alien vessels. They learned that human pilots would deliberately crash their ships into enemy targets rather than allow them to escape. They found out what happened when a species that had perfected warfare through millions of years of evolution finally decided to stop being Paul. Admiral Pete Collins stood on the bridge of the UE's Vengeance, watching his fleet drop out of hyperspace. 87 warships appeared in perfect formation, their hulls dark against the stars. It was the largest human fleet ever assembled. Sir, his communications officer reported, Captain Morrison is requesting immediate tactical briefing. Put him through. Morrison's tired face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Collins could see damage reports scrolling across computer displays. The Defiance had been fighting alone for 12 hours. Admiral, good to see you. The aliens now have 43 ships in system. I've managed to damage 6 of them, but they're getting smarter. They're starting to work together. Collins nodded. Morrison was a good captain, but one ship could only do so much. Captain, fall back to the fleet. You've done enough damage for one day. Sir, with respect, I'd like to stay out here. These alien commanders are learning our tactics. Every engagement teaches them something new. If I keep moving, keep hitting them from different angles, they'll stay confused. Collins understood. Morrison was using himself as bait, keeping the aliens focused on one target while the main fleet prepared for battle. Very well, Captain, but if things get too hot, you run. That's an order. Understood, sir. The channel closed, and Collins turned to his staff. The Vengeance's bridge was crowded with Earth's best military minds. Colonel Sam Rodriguez commanded the fleet's destroyer squadron. Captain Amy Foster led the science ships. Commander Lisa Torres ran intelligence operations. People, we have a problem, Collins began. Dr. Rivers has been monitoring alien communications. They're not just here to conquer us. They want to wipe us out completely. How many more ships are coming? Rodriguez asked. Unknown. Could be hundreds. The Zephyrian Collective has resources we can barely imagine. Captain Foster leaned forward. Admiral, I've been studying the wreckage from Captain Morrison's attacks. These aliens have some interesting weaknesses. Such as? They've never fought a 3-dimensional battle before. They think in terms of naval combat, ship to ship on. A flat plane. They don't expect attacks from above or below. Collins smiled. Human naval tactics had evolved from centuries of warfare on Earth's oceans. But space was different. In space, there was no up or down, no surface to limit movement. What else? Their ships are fast, but they can't change direction quickly. Built for straight-line speed, not maneuvering. And their weapons have to charge between shots. If we can get close enough, we can do a lot of damage before they can respond. Torres added her own intelligence. Sir, they're also having communication problems. Their fleet has grown so large that coordination is becoming difficult. If we can split them up, make them fight in smaller groups, we might have a chance. Collins walked to the tactical display. It showed the alien fleet as red dots, clustered together in a defensive formation. His own ships appeared as blue dots, spread out across a wider area. Rodriguez, take your destroyers and start hitting their flanks. Don't engage directly. Hit and run, just like Morrison has been doing. Yes, sir. Foster, I want your science ships monitoring everything. Every alien transmission, every energy. Reading every tactical decision they make. Understood. Torres, start psychological warfare. I want those aliens to think we have twice as many ships as we actually do. Collins looked around the bridge. People were about to teach the galaxy's bullies what happens when they pick on humans. Let's make it a lesson they'll never forget. Far across the system, Commander Vexthara was having the worst day of his military career. His flagship was barely functional. 6 other ships had been damaged by the lone human vessel that kept appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Status report, he demanded. His tactical officer looked exhausted. Sir, we've lost contact with the human ship again. Our sensors show it was here 30 seconds ago, but now, nothing. How is that possible? Unknown. Their stealth technology is beyond our understanding. Vexthara stared at the tactical display. Red dots showed his own fleet, clustered together for mutual protection. But protection from what? An enemy that appeared without warning, struck with impossible weapons, and vanished before they could respond. Sir, the communications officer called out, we're receiving multiple human transmissions. It sounds like they have reinforcements arriving. How many ships? The signals suggest at least 200 vessels. Vexthara felt his confidence crack. 200 ships? Even if they were primitive, those were terrible odds. Send a message to the High Command. Request immediate assistance. Full battle fleet. Sir, they'll want to know why we need so much help against a primitive species. Tell them the primitives aren't as primitive as we thought. Captain Sam Rodriguez led his destroyer squadron in a wide arc around the alien fleet. His ship, the UES Wolverine, was small and fast, designed for hit-and-run attacks. Perfect for this kind of fighting. Target the ship on the far left, he told his weapons officer. Full spread of torpedoes, then get us out of there. The Wolverine's missile tubes opened, launching 6 nuclear torpedoes at the alien vessel. The weapons streaked across space, their engines burning bright against the darkness. The alien ship detected the incoming missiles and tried to shoot them down. Energy beams lanced out, destroying 3 torpedoes. But the other 3 got through. Nuclear fire bloomed against alien shields. The enemy vessel shuddered under the impact. It's defensive. Systems overloading. Direct hit, Rodriguez's weapons officer reported. Enemy shields down to 40%. Take us out of here. Fast. The Wolverine spun away from the alien fleet, using a nearby asteroid for cover. Behind them, the damaged alien ship was calling for help, but its companions were too busy looking for the attackers to provide assistance. Rodriguez smiled. This was how humans fought. Not in neat formations with honorable single combat. They used speed, cunning, and overwhelming firepower to win battles before the enemy knew they had started. On the alien flagship, Vexthara was discovering the difference between civilized warfare and human warfare. Another attack, sir, his tactical officer reported. This time from above. 3 ships hit our rear guard and withdrew before we could respond. Where are they getting all these vessels? Vexthara demanded, unknown, sir. Our intelligence suggested they had no military fleet. Obviously, our intelligence was wrong. The tactical display showed new contacts appearing and disappearing around his fleet. Human ships seemed to be everywhere, striking from impossible angles, using tactics no civilized species would employ. Vexthara had fought in dozens of campaigns across the galaxy. He understood how space combat worked. Two fleets would meet, exchange fire at long range, and the stronger force would win. Clean, predictable, civilized. But the humans weren't civilized. They hid behind asteroids like pirates. They struck from multiple directions at once. They used nuclear weapons like party favors, throwing them around without any regard for the proper rules of engagement. "Sir," his science officer called out, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the human fleet. They appear to be charging some kind of superweapon." Vexthara felt fear creep up his spine. What kind of superweapon? Unknown. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our database. On the Vengeance, Dr. Rivers was monitoring alien communications with growing amusement. The Zephyrians were terrified, and they didn't even know the real battle hadn't started yet. "Admiral," he reported to Collins, "they think we have super weapons. They're calling for emergency reinforcements." Collins laughed. "Super weapons? We're just warming up our coffee machines." It was true. The massive energy signatures the aliens were detecting came from the fleet's food processors, life support systems, and other routine operations. Human ships were designed for long-range operations. With power systems that could run for months without resupply. The aliens used to efficient energy management. Human power consumption looked like preparation for planet-killing weapons. "Sir," Torres added, "they're also confused by our communications. They keep trying to decode references to something called Protocol 7. Collins smiled wider. Protocol 7 was the human military's emergency coffee ration distribution system. Every ship carried enough coffee to keep the crew alert during extended combat operations, but the aliens didn't know that. "Let them think Protocol 7 is some kind of doomsday weapon," Collins ordered. "In fact, let's give them more to worry about. Start broadcasting references to Protocol 8. "What's Protocol 8, sir?" "Nothing. But they don't know that either." Across the system, 43 alien warships faced an enemy that fought like no civilized species in galactic history. The humans used deception, misdirection, and fear as weapons. They struck from darkness and vanished into shadow. And they were just getting started. Commander Vexthara received an urgent message from his superiors. The High Command was dispatching additional forces, but they wouldn't arrive for 2 days. 2 days of fighting an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with every passing hour. 2 days of learning why some species were meant to rule the stars, and others were meant to serve as cautionary tales. The dance of death had begun, and the humans were leading. Admiral Kate Sullivan read the report 3 times before she believed it. She sat in her office at Terra Command, the massive underground complex that served as Earth's military headquarters. Outside, people went about their normal lives. They had no idea that humanity might be at war within hours. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she told her aide. "Emergency session. Now." Across the solar system, Captain Morrison kept his ship between the aliens and Earth. The Defiance was alone, facing 12 enemy vessels that could destroy planets. But Morrison was not afraid. He was angry. The alien ships had pulled back after their weapon failed. They floated in space like giant metal sharks, deciding what to do next. Morrison could see them on his screen, beautiful and deadly. "Captain," Lieutenant Blake said from her station, "I'm picking up alien communications. Dr. Rivers wants to speak with you." Dr. Alex Rivers was Earth's best expert on alien languages. He worked for the Xenobiology Institute, studying the possibility of life on other worlds. For 20 years, he had waited for this moment. "Captain, I've been listening to their radio chatter. The computer is starting to translate some of it. You're not going to like what I'm hearing." Morrison switched to a private channel. "Tell me, They're calling for reinforcements. Lots of reinforcements. The commander is telling his superiors that they found a dangerous species that needs to be destroyed completely. Morrison felt his blood turn cold. How long before help arrives? Unknown. But Captain, there's something else. I've been analyzing their technology. These ships are designed to fight other energy-based weapons. They've never faced kinetic weapons before. Railguns, missiles, bullets. Things that actually hit you instead of just burning you. Meaning? Meaning they've been fighting civilized wars for thousands of years. We're about to show them what an uncivilized war looks like. At Terra Command, the emergency meeting was already in progress. Admiral Sullivan looked around the table at Earth's top military leaders. General Robert Hayes commanded the Army. Admiral. Patricia Adams ran the Navy. General Kevin Carter controlled the Air Force. And Admiral Pete Collins led the Space Navy's Third Fleet. Gentlemen, lady, Sullivan began, we have a situation. First contact has occurred, and it's not going well. She activated the holographic display in the center of the table. It showed the alien ships surrounding the Defiance. 12 hostile vessels, each one capable of destroying cities. They've demanded our surrender. Captain Morrison refused and survived their opening attack. How? General Hayes asked. Our shields held. Their weapons are designed for fighting other alien races. Dr. Rivers believes they've never encountered human technology before. Admiral Collins leaned forward. What are our options? 3 choices, Sullivan replied. Surrender and hope they're merciful. Run and hope they don't follow. Or fight. The room grew quiet. These men and women had spent their lives preparing for war, but never a war like this. What does the president want? Admiral Adams asked. She's given us full authority to handle this as we see fit. The civilian government is staying out of military decisions. General Carter spoke up. How many ships can we put in space? The Third Fleet has 87 combat vessels, plus patrol ships, cargo haulers, and anything else we can arm and crew. Maybe 200 ships total. Against 12 alien superweapons? Those 12 alien ships just became several dozen. Dr. Rivers intercepted a message. They're bringing friends. Meanwhile, Commander Vexthara paced the bridge of his flagship. His science officers had been studying the human vessel for 6 hours. The results made no sense. Report, he ordered. Chief Science Officer Mordain looked nervous. Commander, their technology is completely different from ours. They use metals we've never seen, energy patterns we don't understand. Their shields work by absorbing and redirecting force rather than deflecting it. What does that mean? It means our weapons are useless against them. Worse, their ship puts out energy readings that suggest it has firepower equal to one of our heavy cruisers. Vexthara stared at the small human ship on his screen. It looked crude compared to Zephyrian vessels. No elegant curves or flowing lines, just angles and armor and weapons. That's impossible. They're primitives. Sir, I recommend we withdraw and call for a full battle fleet. No, Vexthara slammed his fist on the command console. I will not run from a single primitive vessel. The High Command already thinks I'm weak for requesting reinforcements. If I retreat now, they'll remove me from command. Then what do you suggest? We wait for the reinforcements to arrive. Then we destroy every human ship, station, and settlement in this system. We make an example of them. On Earth, Dr. Rivers worked frantically to decode more alien messages. What he found made him sick to his stomach. Admiral Sullivan, you need to hear this, he said over the secure channel. I've broken more of their communication codes. They're not just planning to conquer us. They're planning genocide. Explain. The Zephyrian Collective doesn't just defeat enemies. They erase them completely. Any species that resists is wiped out down to the last individual. Then they take over their worlds and pretend the species never existed. Sullivan felt a chill run down her spine. How many reinforcements are coming? At least 30 more ships. Maybe more. Commander, they've done this before. Many times. We're looking at the galaxy's most successful military force. Then we better make sure we're more successful. Back on the Defiance, Captain Morrison gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. They were all tired. 6 hours of red alert had worn everyone down. People, I'm going to be straight with you. We're probably going to die out here. The aliens are bringing more ships. A lot more ships. Earth Command is sending the Third Fleet, but it might not be enough. Lieutenant Blake raised her hand. Captain, why don't we just leave? Fall back to Earth and make our stand there? Because, Morrison said, looking at each of them in turn, if we run, they'll know we're afraid. And once they know we're afraid, they'll never stop chasing us. Better to make our stand here, in deep space, where they can't threaten Earth directly. Commander Tony Hayes, the ship's weapons officer, smiled grimly. Sir, I've been running diagnostics on our weapon systems. If these aliens have never faced kinetic weapons before, they're in for a big surprise. What do you mean? Our railguns fire solid slugs at 30% of light speed. Our missiles carry nuclear warheads. Our point defense systems use actual bullets. Everything we have is designed to hit hard and break things. Morrison nodded. How long until the Third Fleet arrives? 18 hours, sir. And the alien reinforcements? Unknown. Could be any time. Morrison looked out the briefing room window at the enemy ships floating in the distance. Then I guess we wait and see who shows up first. But deep in space more. Zephyrian ships were already dropping out of hyperspace. The alien reinforcements had arrived early. Commander Vexthara received the message with relief and growing confidence. 37 ships now surrounded the single human vessel. Even if the humans had powerful weapons, they were still just one ship. Open a channel to the human vessel, he ordered. Morrison appeared on the main screen, still calm and defiant. Captain. Morrison, I give you one final chance. Surrender now, and your death will be quick. Morrison smiled. It was not a nice smile. Commander, you made a mistake when you threatened my world. Now you're about to learn why humans don't make good pets. The channel closed. Vexthara turned to his weapons officer. Target their engines. Disable them. I want prisoners for interrogation. But before the alien could fire, something impossible happened. The human ship simply vanished. Where did they go? Vexthara shouted. Unknown, sir. They just disappeared. 2,000 miles away, the Defiance reappeared behind an asteroid. Morrison had used an old trick from submarine warfare, hiding behind a rock and waiting for the enemy to make a mistake. Target the lead ship, he told his weapons officer. Fire everything we have. The Defiance erupted in light and fury. Railgun. Slugs tore through space at incredible speed. Nuclear missiles followed, their guidance systems locked onto alien hulls. Point defense guns added streams of bullets to the attack. The alien flagship's shields flared and died. Armor plates shattered. Atmosphere vented into space. Commander Vexthara was thrown from his command chair as his ship shook apart around him. Emergency lights flickered. Warning alarms screamed. Damage report, he yelled. Hull breaches on 12 decks. Main engines offline. Weapons systems destroyed. For the first time in his life, Vexthara understood what it felt like to be prey. And somewhere in the asteroid field, the Defiance was already moving to its next hiding spot, ready to strike again. The stars looked different when you owned them. Commander Vexthara stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the dark space ahead. His people, the Zephyrians, had ruled this part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. They were masters of science, art, and war. Their ships moved like living things through space, powered by energy that could burn worlds. Today felt special. The exploration fleet had found something new. "Commander," his science officer called out, "we are picking up signals from the third planet in this system. Radio waves. Very basic technology." Vexthara smiled. New worlds meant new resources, new species to add to the collective. His people had done this many times before. Find a young race, show them the power of the Zephyrians, and give them a choice. Join willingly or be forced to join. What kind of species are they? He asked. The science officer checked his readings. Carbon-based. They call themselves humans. They have only been using radio for about 100 years. No space travel beyond their own moon. Very primitive. Vexthara nodded. This would be easy. The hardest part would be deciding if these humans were worth keeping alive. Some young species made good workers. Others were better off removed entirely. Take us closer. I want to see what we are dealing with. Far below on the blue planet, people went about their daily lives. They had no idea that 12 massive alien ships were moving toward their world. The ships were beautiful in a deadly way. They looked like giant sea creatures made of metal and light, each one 3 miles long. But the humans were not completely unprepared. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the USS Defiance. His ship was small compared to what was coming, but it was tough. Morrison was 42 years old, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands from 20 years of military service. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth before joining the Space Navy. "Captain," Lieutenant Lisa. Blake called from the communications station. "I'm reading 12 unknown contacts dropping out of hyperspace. They're big, sir. Really big." Morrison felt his stomach tighten. This was what they had all been waiting for. Humanity's first contact with alien life. The moment it would change. Everything red alert. All hands to battle stations. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have company. The Defiance was one of 50 patrol ships that watched the edges of human space. Most people thought they were looking for asteroids or checking on mining operations. The truth was different. Earth's military leaders knew that someday something would come from the stars. When it did, they wanted to be ready. Morrison had volunteered for this duty. He knew the risks. First contact might go well, with peaceful aliens wanting to trade and share knowledge. Or it might go very, very badly. "Sir, the unknown ships are moving toward Earth. They're trying to communicate with us." Put it on screen. The face that appeared was not human, but it was not completely alien either. Vexthara had 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth like a human. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were silver. When he spoke, a computer translated his words into English. "Greetings, primitive creatures. I am Commander Vexthara of the Zephyrian Collective. Your world is now under our protection. You will surrender your military forces and accept our guidance. This is not a request." Morrison felt anger rise in his chest. He had spent his whole life fighting bullies. This alien was just another bully with bigger weapons. "This is Captain Morrison of the United Earth ship Defiance. You are in human space without permission. I'm asking you politely to leave." Vexthara laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Human? Is that what you call yourselves?" "Little human, you do not understand. My single ship has more power than your entire world. I am offering you mercy. Accept it. And I'm offering you the chance to leave with your ships intact. Final warning." The alien commander stopped laughing. His silver eyes turned cold. "Very well. Perhaps a demonstration will help you understand." The screen went dark. "Captain," the weapons officer called out. They're charging some kind of energy weapon. Massive power readings. Morrison gripped his chair. This was it. The moment that would decide if humanity lived or died as a free species. Raise shields. All power to forward deflectors. Sir, if that's a planet-killer weapon, our shields won't follow orders, Lieutenant. The bridge grew quiet, except for the hum of machinery. Through the main screen, they could see one of the alien ships turning toward them. A bright light began to glow at its front end. Then the light became a beam of pure energy, brighter than the sun. It struck the Defiance with the force of a nuclear explosion. The ship shook. Lights flickered. But when the energy faded, they were still alive. Morrison stood up slowly. His crew stared at their instruments in amazement. Shields at 98%, Captain. Minor damage to the outer hull. That's all. On the alien, flagship Vexthara stared at his own instruments. The readings made no sense. His ship's main weapon could crack a planet's crust. It should have turned the human vessel into vapor. Scan them again, he ordered. There must be an error. His science officer worked frantically at his controls. When he looked up, his face was pale. Commander, their defensive systems are like nothing in our databases. The energy readings from that small ship ... It's impossible. Vexthara felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. Morrison opened a channel to the alien fleet. Commander Vexthara, this is your second warning. Leave human space now, or we'll make you leave. But the aliens did not answer. They were too busy trying to understand what they had just seen, in the depths of space. 12 alien warships faced one small human vessel. The aliens had come expecting to find primitives with sticks and stones. Instead, they had found something. That made their most powerful weapons useless. They had found humans, and now they were beginning to realize that this would not be the easy conquest they had planned.